Content.
Movie fans and moose lovers, welcome to Big Dumb Content. Today the crew and I are checking out 2000's The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. I know you guys wanted this one. Joining me as always are my co-host Rafa Rodriguez.
Hey, what's up? It's Rafa Rodriguez, or someone who looks a lot like him.
We'll never know. And as always, also the loquacious Cary Spector.
Hey, it's Cary. Watch Chin Knockers. You know the drill. Go to YouTube, type it in. It's there.
Listen to the man. All right, Rafa, can you please give us a summary of this movie?
The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle 2000 is a live-action animated adventure hybrid starring June Foray, Keith Scott, Rene Russo, Jason Alexander, and yes, Piper Perabo. Oh, and some guy named Robert De Niro.
Are you talking to me?
Plays a small role. After merging with the real world, several villains from the mostly forgotten Rocky and Bullwinkle television program plan to control our 3D world, involving mind-controlling television programming. Can the titular moose and squirrel stop the nefarious fearless leader from enacting these devious plans before it is too late?
All right, boys. Can I get some general impressions about Rocky and Bullwinkle 2000? Maybe Cary wants to go first?
I mean, first thing we gotta clear up is that Rocky and Bullwinkle is single-handedly one of the greatest cartoons to exist. That's kind of where I'm coming at from the start. Big Rocky and Bullwinkle fan as a kid. Big VHS holder. There were so many VHSs. I would go like this. I would walk around the house cradling it like I was a little baby. Watching this just took me right back there. I was right back. I was a kid again. I was having a great time. Only this time I was also understanding all the jokes I missed when I was a kid. When John Goodman says, "I'm John Goodman," I understood that was John Goodman now. I didn't get that when I was a kid, but, seeing it again, I was able to go, oh my God, it is John Goodman. I think this movie's great. I think there are elements that hold up so well. And there are other things in this movie as well. So, you know what? Honestly, blast off. Took me straight to Mars.
Okay, this is bad.
There are definitely things in this movie. And it's a movie with things in it.
There's so many things.
Yeah.
Rafa, how we feeling?
To give a little context, I am not familiar with the source material to the extent Cary is, right? So I grew up, I used to watch old cartoons, some Flintstones, some Jetsons, what have you. Some the Hanna-Barbera Boomerang era.
Ooh,
that sounds
Can we get
good.
some Hanna-Barbera effects up in this bad boy? Ow, my head!
I actually used to watch this movie a lot as a kid, and so I've seen it many, many times, but like Cary, I didn't get the John Goodman jokes. I didn't get any of the adult humor or any of the subversive elements. I just saw it as a wacky kind of Scooby-Doo-esque, cartoon live-action hybrid movie. But no. This movie's funny. Like, very funny.
And I'm sick and tired of shopping for helicopters. Boy, if I had a missile.
Yeah, it's all right. It's fine. It's a good kids movie. The cast is banging. You got your typical kids movie plot with brainwashing. A lot of that going on in the 90s. I could list off all the brainwashing, family-oriented movies from the 90s on the hand. Batman Forever. Josie and the Pussycats. God, what else? Shh. I can't think of it anymore.
You set yourself up there by starting the list.
Oh, we can't forget Zoolander. It's more like an adult comedy. But in terms of brainwashing movies, pretty good.
Excellent.
Not a huge moose head like Cary over here. He's got his thing. I got my things. So Same. It's in the same playing field as something like the Flintstones.
John Goodman.
Something like Dudley Do Right, which I haven't seen, but I know they made a movie of with Mr. Fraser, Mr. Brendan Fraser. Come on down.
The legend.
The legend, the myth,
The man.
man. Yeah, so let's talk about this plot of making a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, taking some of that Roger Rabbit formula, and then taking some of that,
All right,
generic-
ding, 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 ding. That's it, folks. It took this amount of time till Andrew mentioned Roger Rabbit. That's right. We knew it would happen, and it was not that long at all.
I plead the fifth.
Roger Rabbit.
Shut up! This is totally different!
Rocky and Bullwinkle flew so Deadpool could run. Okay?
You want to give us some more evidence to back up that statement?
Yeah, here's evidence 1. Here's evidence 2. And that's evidence 3 for you right there. Big one. Check that one out.
Change my mind.
Every moment is so tongue-in-cheek, the tongue is going through the cheek. It is it just has this like super satirical spin on everything. It almost feels like a Naked Gun movie but with cartoon characters, which makes sense because Naked Gun is so cartoonish.
Authoritarianism for kids, easy pill to swallow, learn your lessons early on about the world.
Baby's first fascist. I will say, I wanted to talk about like the effects a little bit, where I was expecting from memory Rocky and Bullwinkle being almost like 2D with 3D shading, kind of like Space Jam, where it's 2-dimensional, but they have a 3-dimensional effect going on with them. And no, they were straight up 3D models, and I actually thought they looked okay, even considering how dated and old they are. I thought it kind of fit. They had like the cell shading technique, so they still looked like cartoons, but they were 3D. I don't know. Not bad.
They ain't half bad. They blended pretty well, honestly. I like them more than some of the actual production design and actors.
Ooh. Well, I mean, one, you got Industrial Light and Magic themselves working on it.
Of course.
Didn't even know that.
This was their biggest production to date after Phantom Menace. In terms of the amount of effect,
They rhyme.
in terms of the amounts of like effects they actually had to do for shots, like it was a huge process trying to figure out how to make them look 3D but still kind of flat and 2D-ish. They had like life-size props of Rocky and Bullwinkle,
which we can
set.
see in one scene when they're sitting in the car from afar.
Yeah,
I want to find those props. Come on, Universal, cough them up. They better be on the tour next time.
I would love to get my hands on just a full-size Bullwinkle.
Give us the Bullwinkle.
I think the thing with the production design though is like it's kind of captivating at points. I think that's one of the things that sort of elevates this above like just one of the generic kind of kids movies of the time. Is like there's some really interesting visual elements, like when they're in the FBI and it's like these rows and rows of like the same people and like these desks going on for forever.
Oh yeah,
there's
like the classic mirror gag.
It's traditional.
Hey, it worked for me. It worked for me. What am
I
I gonna
thought-
say?
I thought the production value was very impressive, considering the fact that it's an animated kids movie about a property no one cares about.
Say that again.
I can believe it. I can't fuck it.
I was impressed with the technical adeptness going into this film, considering everything involved. So yeah, to your point, Carrie, there's a surprising amount of love and attention paid to this movie.
Which I think, is kind of also one of those things where it's like there's so many meta elements to this, because the whole point of the leads like love of the characters is what
Are you familiar with the Rocky and Bullwinkle show?
brings the plot along, and through to fruition is her discovering her love and her childhood and like letting that come out. And you kind of feel like that's everyone working on this movie, is like they had to have really enjoyed like the original creation, because like there's so much care and so much detail put in to get it feeling like the old show. And like I don't think you get that as much with the Amazon show. And I just saw a few clips of that, but like it has this like kind of like the old thing, but very much not at all in terms of the actual like writing of the show.
I'm mad sad, bro.
Oh.
It's the same kind of like Rocky goes, "How, Bullwinkle?" And then Bullwinkle goes, "Moo." And like that's like every joke essentially.
Yeah.
Classic Bullwinkle.
So like it has these elements of like, hey, this is what you liked, right? But then the actual context is just bonkers.
We do dumb things sometimes.
And there's like aliens and things exploding, which is another thing in this movie. There were a lot of car stunts.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a Blues Brothers vibe flavor to all that, all these car rides.
They drive a car off a cliff.
And they steal a plane. Classic family movie trope of the hero stealing a plane in the field. Classic.
Just gonna get my stepson a new trial.
Classic. Gotta have that. Oh, moose and squirrel.
But I think when it comes down to it, it's like it's those conversations in the beginning that really like make that it pushes you in, kind of similar to like Space Jam, with its like intro with Bugs Bunny and stuff. Like it makes you feel like, oh, this is that thing, it's like very carefully crafted, so you feel like you're watching the old show and then translates into something new. And I think when it translates into something new is when it isn't as strong, especially for I think the first time I noticed a significant slowdown in the movie was when I realized they were doing a courtroom bit. And it just like, it's like, that's like a 5 to 10 minute scene, or at least it feels like it, that then ends just being like, all right, let's move on. Like it's just so tossed in. It sticks around. You're like, wait, why is this happening? What's the plot of the movie again? Like it really gets you to question everything that came before, and then it moves on again. And
you get distracted by Whoopi Goldberg. So
you do.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Robert De Niro in this as the great fearless leader, alt-right hero?
Sometimes it's not so easy being fearless leader.
I think his makeup looks more convincing than The Irishman. I'll put that out there right now.
So,
you know what you can do? You can suck my...
There's like two options as far as I could see as why he's in this movie. One, he like someone had some dirt on De Niro. Like he did some things in the past, and someone knows about that and has evidence of the fact.
You don't know the first thing about me, pal.
Or two, which I feel is much more likely, is Robert De Niro he might be a huge, gigantic fan of the property, from the past of which he existed in.
He's a moosehead!
And is just doing it out of love for the series, kind of like everyone else involved.
Pure love.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro's pure love of moose and squirrel. Can't be matched.
I did forget the third option, which is he did it as a favor for a child.
I need that odds right now.
He did it for Joe Pesci.
I make you laugh?
Not his most loved.
I will say Robert De Niro, he's not doing too much in this. He is just kind of, compared to, let's say like a Bill Murray in Space Jam, who is on the court here and there, But, Robert De Niro's more Bill Murray, Ghostbusters 2016, kind of just standing in a room, saying stuff, looking like a silly guy with his silly little monocle, doing this silly little Nazi thing.
I know.
I think what really gets tough with Robert De Niro is the whole. I mean, we gotta bring it up. Are you talking to me?
It's
and
the taxi driver
spins around in his chair, and it does the taxi driver thing.
That was odd.
And you're like, I guess that's the point where I'm like, Does Robert De Niro think he's been hired as a clown to just do a Robert De Niro thing?
A little, yeah.
A silly getup? Like
Maybe he
is
thought Rocky and
this-
Bullwinkle was a
is he being
personal
paid
movie
off?
for like a personal studio executive's child, you know, kind of that flavor, you know. This would never have been released, you know.
That was just a little joke.
Maybe.
Who's this for, really? Who's this movie really for?
To his credit, my roommate only realized it was Robert De Niro when he started doing the lines, the taxi driver lines. Until then, he was kind of lost. Like he was like,
But he's attached to the project.
I do think all the self-referential stuff in this movie really aided it because it was true to like the original cartoon, and in this way it just kind of works to be as winking and nudging for the parents so they can just like keep making it through, because it's like, we know this is goofy and all that, but I never found it as annoying as it got with Deadpool, where that's like those are fun little cute jokes, and then Deadpool kind of, it's like, okay, you're pointing out the cliches, but aren't you also participating in them? So it's like, what's the point? And at least Rocky and Bullwinkle, it was just like having fun. It was going with it. I enjoyed it.
Is this all you have?
Robert De Niro, all right, so basically he's paid millions to stand in a single room for what I assume was less than a full shooting week, it feels. But, you know, he's all right. He plays fair. He does his little taxi driver joke.
What?
You know, how do we feel about comparing this to his performance in Joker? Better, worse? I'm leaning better.
I think this is much more comparable to Dirty Grandpa. You know, I think that's the apt comparison to make.
Such a dirty grandpa.
Fuck!
Plot-wise of this movie, I think it's interesting to note that this is one of the few movies where it really doesn't matter what the plot is. It's all just a framing device for jokes and, you know, silly things to happen and little gags. It's like Naked Gun, where the plot, it doesn't matter what's going on. Like that's not the movie. That's not what you came to see. You came to see, you know, Leslie Nielsen fart on a kid's face or whatever he's up to that day.
Leslie, you did it again. Rest in peace, King. He's farting on kids' faces up in heaven, I'm sure.
If you watch this movie, you're here to see all the silly little shenanigans, the wackiness. You know, Carl Reiner yelling at you.
like moose pictures.
Carl.
Keenan and Kel driving around.
Yeah, let's give it up for Keenan and Kel.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Oh
they,
my God.
glad
It's
they got a
honestly-
little moment in this movie.
It's such a little time capsule, this movie. I love how there's like little things like that where it could only happen then. You know, it would never happen before or after. It could only be right at the turn of the century.
Computer.
Keenan and Kel.
It could have been handled so much worse. It could have been, you know, drinking orange soda. We're in Good Burger here, but no, pure Keenan and Kel.
No,
you know?
they're doing like this weird voice, like the nerdy, like, hey guys, we're grad
It's a
students.
little Simpsons-y.
We're grad students on our way trying to find America.
They're beatniks.
You know what I
And
mean?
I just
Sure.
love how their car got a fax. I feel like, again, you could never have that happen in a movie in any other time period. Only then would a car get a fax.
End of the century tech beat.
I guess if we're moving on from Robert De Niro, then do we go right to Jason Alexander?
That's the logical
We
step
go right to
forward.
his
Rene
eyebrows.
Russo as Natasha and Boris?
We jump right to the fraction of a percentage that is there left of his eyebrows. You know, real small amount of eyebrow territory left to work with.
They're not bad.
Honest-
They're not bad.
Thank you.
Hearing Jason Alexander talk about like being an actor for this role, you know, once again in a behind the scenes featurette, he's talking about getting into character as Boris, and how, you know, you only see Boris like sideways, so you only see his feet sideways, and he's like, well, if you see his feet sideways, he must run sideways. And so that's how he runs in the movie. He's just like, his feet are splayed out and he's just kind of hobbling around, because that's how this, you know, cartoon come to life would actually run.
You will believe a man can be a Russian spy. Yeah, this could have been a Danny DeVito role, frankly.
The whole movie could have been a Danny DeVito role.
That's right.
I feel like this movie in particular allows for that suspension of disbelief because even the real world is cartoony to an extent where, for example, the way the movies get greenlit in this universe is there's a giant lighthouse with a green light in it that you just push buttons and it sends a green light to that property and, you know, realizes it. And like that's like the expectations of the real world that are established right at the beginning. So for me, from that point on, I'm like, yeah, of course Keenan and Kel's car has a fax machine. Why not?
Yeah, let's talk about our main character, though, helping out Rocky and Bullwinkle, Karen Sympathy. Who is this woman?
What a Karen.
Who is this FBI agent?
Who is this teenage FBI agent?
Yeah, so did she come straight out of like a Disney Channel original movie? Her acting is that.
Shut up.
She's in a completely different movie. Like, yeah, she is in a Disney TV show. Like, it's so confusing because everyone else is still kind of like they're acting hammy and ridiculous, but still also kind of taking themselves seriously. And she really is like saying things. She's
on this level down here in terms of acting quality, and even Randy Quaid is on that next step.
Yeah, Randy Quaid's he's pretty stable in this movie, though. When they first introduce him, I feel like he's completely ADR'd.
Figure it out!
We're sorry, Piper.
I hope you're doing well.
You just didn't cut in this movie.
Just not doing any more movies.
She was in Angel Has Fallen.
I think
so.
Piper has fallen. I want to talk about the this like brainwashing plot. Bullwinkle going into the serververse at one moment.
Oh yeah, I did want
vegetable head stuff. Like, what was that?
I feel like that's another example.
The anti-moose stuff, I guess, also.
The surfing the web scene is another thing that only in the early 2000s do you have a scene where your character physically surfs the net, dude. And I feel like that was in everything at the time. Like, it was so ubiquitous, no one paid attention to it. No one was like, oh, isn't that kind of weird? No, everyone did it. Everything was doing it, but it's weird to see it today.
They made Bullwinkle a hacker.
Minesweeper.
They had to go that route, you know, frankly. For one moment, at least, in this movie.
Minesweeper.
Mr. Robot, eat your heart out. Bullwinkle first. In before Bullwinkle.
All right.
I don't think anyone. I was questioning the weird sentimental music that was playing when Rocky was like flying early on during that anti-moose rally. At Bullwinkle's alumni.
It was like sentimental, but like in a pop music-y kind of way. You know, like it wasn't orchestral original score
like the vibe
music.
Was off for that, like the emotion of the music with the flying and this goal. There was like no tension. Like was like trying to knock out Boris, but it was like whatever. I'll see if I can fly. Oh no, Bullwinkle. It's hard to put oneself in the space of a massive Rocky and Bullwinkle fan. From the 60s and 2000, you know.
You just have to pretend like you're Bruce Valanche.
It's so specific.
I love the little side thing with the Swedish or Norwegian, you know, guard who's in love with Karen Sympathy and has this little inner child in his eye too. I love it.
Yeah. They share that. They like deep down they have a shared soul like that. It's a great gag for one, and every time they cut to the little kid, like that was an instant laugh.
I laughed out loud several times throughout this movie. Unironically, I just laughed at the joke with the joke. I genuinely thought the movie was funny.
Oh yeah, there's a brief little moment where they're listening to music in the car, and Bullwinkle asks, "What's this music?" And Karen Sympathy says, hip hop. And then he goes,
okay, but I'd still like to know what kind of music it is.
I mean, the very next line of dialogue from Bullwinkle is, I was just getting jiggy with it. So
so true. So true.
The movie ends where they go to the TV station, I guess, right? And they
Oh, Bullwinkle is unaffected.
Bullwinkle uses his antlers to redirect the beams back at the fearless leader and turn them back into cartoons. While they're tied up already, though. So they were already tied up from, I forget what. It's a little, I honestly don't remember the details.
It's a little sloppy, but nothing wrong with a little sloppy moose and squirrel action. Please cut that. Whoops. See, this movie was made for big people with big brains. I got a peanut brain. Just go back to watching Roger Rabbit. Sorry, folks. Fellas, can we please get the last and definitive words on The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle 2000, Universal Pictures?
Yeah, I mean, once again, coming in as a fan of the series, having seen this in theaters, like, I was very pleasantly surprised. I think the old show is still worth checking out, at least a few episodes, just to get a sense of, like, there's nothing really quite like that on TV, and it just has such a great sense of personality. I think my only issues with this movie came with just the limitations of bringing an animated program to live action. It's like there's some things that just like can't quite make the transition, no matter how hard they try to like do the usual things. It's like those are the parts that kind of felt a little flat. I think minute to minute though, like the gags were still pretty solid. Wordplay's great. The script was fine. It was a fun, enjoyable time. Robert De Niro was 100% in this movie. I wonder if he would remember it today.
Who are these people? I mean,
Rob, Bobby Boy, Bobby Boy, thank you for that, Carrie. Bobby Boy, if you're out there, you see this video, let us know.
who the fuck are you?
Love to hear your thoughts on this process. What was it like being an authoritarian, Nazi-like figure? How'd you get into that role?
What's a raging Bullwinkle?
Raging Bullwinkle. Raging Bullwinkle.
You some little 15-year-old with nothing better to do in your life?
I love this movie. I was so surprised because it was one of those movies I've seen so many times as a kid, but don't remember anything from. So I expected to have all of these cringe moments or these jokes that just didn't age well or the special effects to be god awful. And when I watched it and none of those things like stood out to me or were bad in my opinion, I was blown away. I feel like I just discovered a gem in the rough. I feel blessed to have witnessed this film. I am lucky to be alive. I love this movie. It is hilarious. It is one of those few examples of a kids movie or a movie made for kids and families where I really feel like the humor is good. It's not, universal like any joke, but I actually feel like it's smart enough for the crowd. Can't go too political for the kiddies. That's why we gotta bring in baby's first fascist.
Are you talking to me?
It's a good time, It's a good intro to Rocky and Bullwinkle. You got some familiar faces, so gets you a little in the mood, a little De Niro, a little, Jason Alexander, a little Rene Russo, It's a good intro to this to these characters. Not the greatest, not the best in my opinion, but it's colorful. There's some good puns. You're gonna love the blue stuff. I know this. When you see Rocky fly, you're gonna believe a CGI squirrel can fly. Let's put it out there.
Great.
This movie is currently free on the internet. If you Google it with your internet, you can watch it for free. I recommend doing so. You have to watch a few commercials. That's okay. Maybe you mute the commercials.
Just a thought, folks. It's not that hard. One button.
Would make easier victims.
Talking to me? Talking to me? Must be talking to me because I'm in Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
You talking to me?
You talking to me?
Who are you talking to?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
are you?
Stupid.